Good afternoon to all the students. In the last class, we have gone through the constructors concept. We have started the concept of constructors, where we have seen what a constructor is and what are the characteristics of a constructor and how the constructor is different from the member function, and what are the four categories of constructors we have. And in that, we have discussed what a do-nothing constructor is, and similarly default constructor and parameterized constructor. So in today's class, we will discuss one of the important topic, that is the copy constructor. So we have gone through some of the introductory concepts related to copy constructor. So what is a copy constructor? Similar to that of a constructor, a copy constructor is also a member function, but the copy constructor is used to initialize an object with the values of another object of the same class. So whenever you want to copy one object into another object, then we can make use of the copy constructor. The syntax is, it starts with the class name, as we know that the constructor is a function which has the same name as that of the class. Here the copy constructor also starts with the class name, and within the parentheses we have only one parameter or one argument which is given as the reference. Here we can observe here that it consists of an ampersand symbol. That means it represents the address of some world object. Right? And here the class name, this is the class name to which this world object belongs. Right? Since we are going to copy the values of one object into another object of the same class, this class name and this class name are same. Right? For example, if the class name is something like point, here also it will be point only. Right? Why? Because we are going to copy the values of one object of the same class with another object of the same class. Right? So that's the reason why the class name here and this class name are same, but this object is something different. Right? And this inside the parameter, we are declaring the parameter as const. Why? Because we want to keep the values of the world object as it is. That means we don't want to modify the values of the world object. That is the reason why we give a keyword called const. So whenever we give the keyword as const, it specifies it makes the world object as a constant object. Therefore, we cannot modify the values of the world object. That is the reason why we give it as constant. Right? So after that, we can write any statements to constitute the body of the function. So this is the syntax of the copy constructor. Here the world object, world underscore obj, is the reference to an object that is being used to initialize another object. Right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes.
And you can see these 2 points. Yesterday also we have discussed, right? So if you forget or if you don't give any constructor on your own, then the C++ compiler automatically allocates or automatically provides us with some constructors, right? That is called as default constructor. But when we define one or more parameterized constructors, non-default constructor means it is nothing but a parameterized constructor. So if we define one or more parameterized constructor, a default constructor should also be defined by the user only. Why? Because once you define the parameterized constructors, the compiler will not take the responsibility of allocating the default constructor. So both the parameterized and the non-parameterized constructor should be specified explicitly by the user. So this point is very important, so you should keep it in mind. And the other thing is, as I told that don't give the responsibility of defining the constructor to the compiler. Right? So you make it a practice that you always define the constructor explicitly. It is a good practice, though it is not a thumb rule. It is a good convention, or it is a good practice for a programmer to define a explicit constructor or default constructor. Right. So these 2 points you have to keep it in mind. And let us go with one programming example of the copy constructor. Can you see the screen here? Yes. What is the name of the class I have defined here?
Point, sir.
Point. How many private members I have defined?
2, sir. 1, sir. 1.
2.
2.
No, private members. Int x comma y. Therefore, I have defined or declared 2 private data members which are of type integer. What are the name of those private data members? X and y. Right. So you can observe here. What is this one? What is this line doing? Is it a function or not? Under public scope, I have defined one function with the name point. Right. So this point is the name of the class itself. So what is the function called which consists of the same name as that of the class? Anybody please respond. What is the name of the function that has the same name as that of the class?
Constructor.
Constructor. Right.
Constructor.
So this constructor, does it contain any parameters or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. X, it consists of 2 parameters, and both of the parameters belong to the integer data type. Therefore, this is a category of parameterized constructor. This is an example of parameterized constructor. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
So what I am doing here, I am assigning the value of x1 to x and y1 to y. What are these x and y? Again, we know that this x and y are the private data members of the class point. Right. So I am defining a parameterized constructor in the public scope. Right. After this, if you observe this particular statement, this line,
Yes, sir.
it is also a function that has the same name as that of the class. Therefore, we can say that this is also a constructor. But how many parameters it is accepting?
2, sir.
Only one parameter. And what is the
One.
parameter it is accepting? It is the address of some P1. Is the address of P1. Right. So what is this P1 again? This is nothing but an object of type point. Right. And we have declared it as the constant. So this is the syntax for the copy constructor. And within the body of the copy constructor, I have assigned, see this statement, x is equal to p1 dot x. What is x here? What is this x, which I am rounding off here? What is this x? This x belongs to the private data member of the present object, right? And what is this p1 dot x? What is this p1 dot x?
Accessing
P1
to
dot-
object.
Yes, p1 dot x is the private member x of object p1. So in this statement, I am doing the assignment of p1 dot x with x. Right? So I'm just copying the value of p1 dot x into x. Similarly, the second statement is y is equal to p1 dot y. So I'm copying the value of y, which belongs to p1, to the y, which is a private data member of this class. Right? So this is how I am copying the values of x and y that belongs to P1 to the present class. So this is an example of copy constructor. So the syntax is very important. You should write the syntax as it starts with the class name and it accepts only one parameter, which is const, the class name, the reference, and the world object. Here P1 is the world object and ampersand specifies the reference, and point is also the class name, and const is a keyword. Right? Is it clear up to this point?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So how many are there any other functions in the in this particular class? Yes, I am having another function which is int get x. Here int is the return type of the function get x, and the function is doing simple task of returning the value of x. Right. Similarly, there is another function that is defined inside the public scope of the class point, that is get y. The return type is integer and there is only one statement called return y. Therefore, it is returning the y that belongs to the class. Right. So here I am ending the class. Now coming to the second part of the program, that is writing the statements of the main. What is this statement? Can anybody tell me? Point of P1 10, 15. What is this statement? Anybody please respond?
Constructor form.
Implicit calling.
Super. Right. This is a statement which creates an object called P1. This is a statement which creates an object called P1 with calling the constructor. What constructor we are calling? We are calling the parameterized constructor. So as I told in the earlier class, the parameterized constructor can be called in two ways. One is the explicit way of calling the constructor, and second one is the implicit way of calling the constructor. So here we are calling the constructor. We are creating the object as well as we are calling the constructor in the implicit manner. This is the implicit way of calling the constructor. So what happens here? P1 object will be created, P1 that belongs to class point, and as you know that P1 consists of two values or two data members, that is x and y, which are private data members. Here you can see, right? And we are initializing the values of x and y with 10 and 15 respectively. So P1 dot x consists of 10 and y of P1 belongs to 15. Similarly, when we create an object, it also consists of all the functions. For example, here I have four functions. One is the parameterized constructor, second one is the copy constructor, the third one is getX function, and the fourth one is the getY function. All these four functions will also be created for this point P1. So what is this statement doing? Which I have given the arrow mark. Point P2 is equal to P1.
Calling copy constructor.
Right. Copy constructor is being called here. Right. So this syntax is important. How do you call a copy constructor? Means, as we know that the copy constructor is used to copy the values of one object into another object of the same class. Here I am creating the object P2. Point P2 is nothing but creation of an object. Right. And then I am assigning it to P1. Right. So P1, the value, the copy constructor is called. Therefore, this P1 is passed to this copy constructor. So whatever values that belongs to P1, that is x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 15, are also passed to this. Okay. So in this function, what it is doing, x is equal to P1 dot x. So this x, listen carefully, this x belongs to P2 right now. So when you create an object, we know that it will have the data members X and Y. So whenever you create any number of objects, so that many variables or that many data members will be created for those objects, right? So here X and Y belong to P2. In this statement, I am doing X is equal to P1 dot X. I know the value of P1 dot X, which is equal to 10. Therefore, P2 dot X also consists of 10. Similarly, I am copying P1 dot Y, which is nothing but 15 is equal to Y. Therefore, Y that belongs to P2 is assigned a value of P1 dot Y, which is nothing but 15. So now I am just printing the outputs. See out P1 dot X is equal to, therefore I will get the output as P1 dot X is equal to, and P1 dot get X. What is this statement doing here? What is this statement doing? P1 dot get X.
Returning value of X.
Yeah, it is true, but it is invoking the function getX. It is invoking the function getX that belongs to P1. So it will return the value of X of P1. So what is the value of X of P1, which is nothing but 10 will be printed. Similarly, P1 dot get Y. This one. P1 dot Y is equal to P1 dot get Y. Therefore, the get Y function of P1 will be invoked and it will return the value of Y which belongs to P1. So it is nothing but 15. Similarly, if you write the same statements, see out P2 dot X. So P2 dot X is equal to P2 dot get X. Therefore, the get X function of P2 will be invoked and it will return the value of X which belongs to P2. What is the value of X that belongs to P2? It is again 10. Similarly, P2 dot Y is equal to P2 dot get Y is called. Therefore, get Y function is invoked and get Y function of P2 is invoked. And then it will return the value of Y that belongs to P2, which is nothing but 50. Right. So this is how you copy the values of one object into another object by using the copy constructor. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
Now let us go why. See here. For example, if we forget to specify or if we forget to define the default constructor, does the compiler provide us with the default constructor or not?
yes, sir.
Yes. We have studied it from the first point onwards that when we forget to define the constructor, the compiler automatically creates a constructor for us. Right. In the similar way, when the user forgets to create his own copy of the copy constructor, then C++ compiler creates a default copy constructor. This is very important. So when the user does not define his own copy of constructor, the C++ compiler creates a default copy constructor. So how many types of copy constructors are there? How many types of copy constructors are there?
Two.
Two. What are they?
The constructor.
One is default copy constructor. Don't say it as default constructor. Default constructor is some other concept which we have studied earlier, right? So if we don't,
Yes, sir.
if the user forgets to specify or define his own copy constructor, then the compiler will provide a copy constructor which we call it as the default copy constructor. And what about the other one?
Parameter.
User defined copy constructor. So now we came to know that there exist two types of copy constructors. One is the default copy constructor and the other one is the user defined copy constructor. So in general, the user has to define his own copy constructor. But If the user forgets to define his own copy constructor, don't worry, C++ will provide us with the default copy constructor also, right? But the way they copy the contents of one object to another object differs. That is the only difference between the default copy constructor and user defined copy constructor. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now the compiler created copy constructor works fine in general. Yes. Whatever the compiler provides us with the default copy constructor, it works well in all the situations. But the way they copy each other, the way the values of one object is copied into another object will differ from each other. Right. We'll see the two terminologies. We have a concept called as shallow copy and another concept called as deep copy, right? So the default copy constructor follows the concept of shallow copy, and the user defined copy constructor follows the concept of deep copy. We'll see the differences of this shallow copy and deep copy soon, right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So when do we require this user defined copy constructor? So even though we don't specify any copy constructors, the compiler is providing us with a default copy constructor. Then what is the situation under which we have to define the user defined copy constructor? Means there are some situations where it is mandatory that you should specify the user defined copy constructor. That is when an object has pointers, right? So whenever you have a class, whenever you have a class that consists of pointers, this is very important. So this is very important. Just give me 1 minute.
Hello, voice is muted.
Sorry. Can you hear this? Now can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, and let us continue. Right. So when do we declare the user defined copy constructor? Means whenever a class is having the pointer variables and has some dynamic memory allocation. Whenever you are allocating some variables at runtime, right? In such situation, it is mandatory that you should specify the user defined copy constructor. Otherwise, there is no need to define the copy constructor unless the program demands. Right? Is it clear up to this point? So in this slide, we have learned that there exist two types of copy constructors. One is the user-defined copy constructor, and the second one is the default copy constructor. The default copy constructor is provided by the compiler automatically. And another important point that we have learned in this particular slide is when a user-defined copy constructor is needed. So whenever a class consists of pointer variables and has some dynamic memory allocation concept, in such situation, you need to have the user-defined copy constructor, right? Now we'll see what is the difference between the shallow copy and deep copy. These are new terms we are learning here, so you please concentrate. So there are two terms. One is the shallow copy and another one is the deep copy. So the default copy constructor, it makes use of this shallow copy. And the user-defined copy constructor, it makes use of the deep copy. You remember these two terms, right? So let us see what shallow copy is. So the default copy constructor does only shallow copy. What does it mean? So bag1 is one object I have here. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, bag1 is one object and bag2 is another object of the same class, right? Of the same class. So I have 4 different variables. What is Shivam? Under what data type that Shivam comes?
String.
String, right? What? How can you declare strings? By using character arrays. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
And similarly, there is another way for declaring or storing the strings, that is character pointer. These character pointers, right? So whenever you are using the pointers concept, so Shivam is stored as a character pointer. Similarly, Shyam is stored as a character pointer. Asim, Anmol, all these are strings. Therefore, we can make use of character pointers. So here we are making use of pointers concept. Right. So even the pointers, I told you in the earlier slide that when you make use of the pointers, it is better that you go for the user-defined copy constructor. If you don't define the user-defined copy constructor, then the compiler will automatically provide a default copy constructor and it makes use of the shallow copy. So what does it mean? Shallow copying means this Shivam, Shyam, Asim and Anmol, they belong to bag1. They belong to bag1. And when I use the default copy constructor, what this bag2, the values of this Shivam, Shyam, Asim and Anmol are copied to bag2. But you can observe here that both the bag1 and bag2 are pointing to the same location, right? Assume that Shivam is at 100 location, Shyam is at 200 location, Asim is at 300 and Anmol is at 400. So initially the Shivam is at 100. After copy constructor is invoked and after the values of Shivam is copied into bag2, then also they are occupying the same location. That means both bag1 and bag2 are pointing to the same location, right? So this is how the shallow copy occurs. So whenever you have a pointers concept, when you follow the shallow copy concept, both the pointers are pointing to the same memory location. That is what you have to remember in a simple words. They are going to point out to the same location. So if you remove this Shivam, so when you remove the pointer from the Shivam, what happens to bag2? Since it is also pointing to the same location, the pointer will be broken from bag2 to the Shivam. Similarly, if you remove this Asim using bag1, the pointer from bag2 to Asim will be broken. Therefore, Asim is not available to bag2 also. So this is a problem that arises due to default copy constructor. Shallow copy. Shallow copy means they maintain the same location. That means the old object and the new object, they maintain the same location. So when one of the object modifies the value, then the other also is having the same value, right? Is it clear up to this point? Shallow copy,
Yes, sir.
right? Let us see it with an example. What is the name of the class I have defined here?
Demo, sir.
Demo, right? How many data members I have declared here?
2.
3, sir.
3. Does they belong to private or public?
Private, sir.
Private. Why? Because if I don't specify any access specifier label, then by default the compiler will treat them as the private data members. Therefore, A is private, B is private, and listen here. Here is a new concept. Right. What is P here?
It's a pointer.
P is a pointer of type integer. It is nothing. We can say it as simply. I can say it as integer pointer. Right. So this is very important. Please concentrate. So in the public domain, I have specified 3 functions. One is the demo function, and the second one is set data function, and the third one is show data function. Right. So let us go with the demo. What does this particular function specify? What is this function? Please respond. What is this function specify? Anybody please respond. What is this particular?
Allocating memory.
No. What is the name of this function?
Demo.
Demo. Right. Is it same as that of the class name or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what type of function is it?
It's a constructor.
It is a constructor. Now tell me under what category this constructor comes. Is it a no do nothing constructor, or it is a default constructor, or it is a parameterized constructor?
It's a default constructor.
Super. Right. It is a default constructor. So what does this default constructor is doing? How can you identify, how do you identify that this is a default constructor?
Instructions are present but no parameters.
Super. Right. Instructions are there and it does not consist of any parameter list. Therefore, that comes under the category of default constructor. If instructions are there and parameters are there, then it comes under the category of parameterized constructor. And if instructions are not there, then it comes under, no parameters are there, then it comes under do nothing. Yesterday we have seen a table also, right? So it is a constructor, default constructor. So whenever you create an object, this particular constructor will be invoked, and what it is doing, it has only one statement, p is equal to new int. Therefore, new is an operator. In the first class itself, we have seen new and delete are the operators that are supported in C++, which are used to allocate and deallocate the memory respectively. So new is used to allocate the memory. So I am going to allocate the memory for p. P is nothing but a pointer of type integer. Therefore, I am allocating new int. Right. Now, what about this particular function void set data? It is accepting 3 parameters int x, y, z, and A is assigned a value of x, B is assigned a value of y, and star p. How do you read star p here? There is a specific way of reading star p.
Reference P.
No. Reference is this one. Star p means you have to read it as value at p. So you will come across these terms in the pointers concept in the C programming language. So star p means value at p. So whatever value you want to store at p, you you can refer it by using start p, right? So I'm assigning the value of z to value at p. So this is just setting the data of three members a, b, and star p with x and y and z respectively. And coming to this second part, we have a function called show data, where it is displaying the values of a, and it is displaying the value of b, and it is also displaying the value of star p. Star p means value at p. Right. So set data sets the values of a, b, and star p. Show data shows the values of a, b, and star p. That's it, simple, right? And if you observe the entire class definition, have you ever defined any copy constructor here? Have you included any code that belongs to the copy constructor? What is the syntax for the copy constructor? It is class name,
Class name,
and again within parentheses we have const, again we have class name and reference and object.
ampersand.
This is how you have to define the copy constructor. Is there anything that matches with this syntax? My question is simple,
No, sir.
whether you have defined any copy constructor for this class or not.
No, sir.
No, right? So when you don't give the copy constructor, explicit copy constructor is not there, does the compiler provide us with the copy constructor or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. See here. Now let us go with the main function. What does this statement do? Demo d1.
Object
What is-
creation.
It is creating an object called d1. Therefore, it has three data members a, b, and star p. Right. And it has the functions demo, set data, and show data. I'm not going to concentrate on it. I'm just going to concentrate on the data one, right? And I'm calling the function set data with three values, that is 4, 5, and 7 respectively. So the set data function of d1 will be invoked. Therefore, x will be having the value of 4, y will be having the value of 5, and it is having the value of 7. And in this particular function, I am assigning the value of x to a. So 4 will be assigned to a, that belongs to d1, and 5 will be assigned to b, that belongs to d1, and 7 will be assigned to star p, that belongs to d1. Now tell me, what is this statement? Very important. What is this statement?
Creating copy constructor object.
No, we are calling the copy constructor. It's not creation, it is calling the copy constructor, right? Here I am creating an object d2 of type class demo, and I am assigning the value of d1. So we are assigning two objects. So d1, the values of d1 are copied to d2. That means here it will invoke the copy constructor. Right. Listen carefully. This is very important one. Here I am invoking the copy constructor, but have you specified any user defined copy constructor at this point in the class?
No, sir.
No. So if you don't specify the user defined copy constructor, the compiler will be providing a default copy constructor. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
So it will invoke the default copy constructor. So when it invokes the default copy constructor, what method it is following? Is it copying using shallow method or deep method?
Shallow method.
Shallow method. Shallow method means I told that they are going to share the memory locations. They are going to share the memory location. So this D2 will be having, this is D2, right? Let me write. And this is D. D1 is having 4, A is equal to 4, B is equal to 5, and star P is equal to 7. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, when you create D2, and here we are creating D2 with by invoking the copy constructor, which is a default, and we know that the default copy constructor uses a shallow copy method. Therefore, A is copied, B is copied, and what happens to star P of D2? Will it happen like this? No, this will not happen. Why? Because shallow copy means the pointers will be sharing the same location. Right. So whatever star P is stored, right? Whatever star P is there. For example, assume the star P is at 500 location. P is at 500 location. So the same 500 location will be shared by the D2 also. So whatever value that is pointed by this 500 location P, it is again pointed by the other pointer that belongs to D2 also, right? So both the P's of D1 and D2, listen carefully, both the P's of D1 and D2 are going to point to the same location. This is the disadvantage we have with the default copy constructor, or else we can also say that this is the disadvantage of the shallow copy. Okay. So what is the disadvantage? For example, in program, assume that I have modified the value of D1 to some 70. What happens to the P value of D2?
It changes to 70.
It also changes to 70, but this type of characteristics is not good, right? So we are not expecting that when you change the value of the one of the data member of D1, the value of the other data member of D2 can be changed, right? This we should not expect, and this is not correct also. Right? Both the members or both the objects D1 and D2 should have their own memory location, should have their own values, right? So if one value of D1 is changed, we should not expect that the other value that belongs to D2 also gets changed, right? This property is not accepted. This property is not accepted. So listen here. And when we change the value of A that belongs to D1 to 50, does it affect the value of A in D2? If I modify the value of A of D1 to from 4 to 50, does it affect the value of A that belongs to D2?
No, sir.
No. Why? Because they have different locations. A and B are declared as normal variables. They have their own memory locations. Therefore, after this default copy constructor is invoked, the values are copied, but they exist on their own. Therefore, when you make modifications in A and B, since they are the normal variables, those are not reflected for the other object variables. But this P is a pointer variable. So both of them will be referring to the same memory locations. So that is the reason why when do we need a user-defined copy constructor?
When pointers are present.
Right. So when a class consists of the pointer variables, in such situations, you require the user-defined copy constructor. Right. So if you make use of the default copy constructor, if the class consists of the pointers and you are making use of a shallow copy, that means you are invoking the default copy constructor, then the problem of this particular, the pointers sharing the same memory locations will arise, which is not acceptable. Right? So to solve this problem, we are going to make use of another concept called as deep copy. Deep copy. So deep copy is possible only with the user-defined copy constructor. So you have to specify each and every, that means you have to copy each and value individually from the old object to the new object. So in such situations, you have to always define your own copy constructor. Right. So when you define your own copy constructor, then it is possible to have a deep copy. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So in the user-defined copy constructor, we make sure that the pointers of the copied object point to the new memory location. This is very important. But in the shallow copy, we are not ensured that the pointers are having the new memory locations. If you observe this diagram, the deep copy diagram, so bag1 is one object that is having the pointers, character pointers to Shivam, Shyam, Asim and Anmol. And when you user define or when you have the user defined copy constructor, so whatever pointers you have, you ensure that those pointers will have separate memory locations. So bag2, which belongs to that, bag2 is an object of the same class, is assured that the Shivam, Shyam, Asim and Anmol are having the different memory locations. Right? Is it clear? So even though if you modify this Shivam of bag1, you change it to some Vishnu, but the value Shivam remains as it is in bag2. Why? Because both of them are having different locations. Right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Let us go with the programming example, very simple example. Right. What is the name of the class? Please be active. What is the name of the class?
Demo.
Demo. So I have defined three variables, three data members, A, B and star P, where A and B are the normal variables and P is a pointer to an integer. And what is this function?
Constructor.
Constructor. What type of constructor it is?
Default.
Default constructor.
Default constructor. So when you create an object D1 like this, the default constructor will be invoked and it will create a memory for the pointer by using the new operator. Listen carefully. When we are using the new operator, it is nothing but dynamic memory allocation. Right. So in the user-defined copy constructors, I have told that you need a user-defined copy constructor whenever you have the pointers and the dynamic memory allocation concept. So in the class, if you are making use of pointers, and if you in the class, if you are making use of dynamic memory allocation, then it is mandatory that you should make use of a user-defined copy constructor. Right. Now tell me, what about this demo? What is this function called as?
Copy constructor.
So demo is the name of the class, therefore this function is called as the constructor, and in order to classify what constructor it is, we have to go with the parameters. So the parameter is, we can include const also, nothing wrong in it. Const demo address of D. Right. So I am using the class name and D is the old object and I am using a reference here. See here, each and every statement. A is equal to D dot A. Therefore, I am assigning the A data member A with D dot A, and similarly B is assigned D dot B. And look at this particular statement. So P is equal to new int. What does it do here?
Allocates new memory to P.
Allocating memory by using the dynamic memory allocation, right? And here I am assigning the value star p is equal to star of d dot p. Right. So I am assigning the value of pointer to this point. So as we have discussed in the previous example, set data is used to set the values of these data members with x, y, and z respectively. So A is assigned with x, B is assigned with y, and star p is assigned with z. Right. And similarly, show data is used to display the values of A, B, and star p. And coming to this point, main function, demo D1, it is nothing but creation of an object. Is it right or not? You are creating an object. So when you create an object, the default constructor demo will be invoked and the memory for this p new int is allocated, right? And the memory for the pointer will be allocated by using the dynamic memory allocation. And d1 dot set data 457. Therefore, whatever values we have for this d1, that is data members, nothing but a, b, and star p, they will be having the values of 4, 5, and 7. Next, what is this statement? What is the statement?
Calling copy conductor.
Right.
Constructor.
Yes, it is true, but you should say that we are going to create an object D2 and then invoking the copy constructor. Right. So demo D2 is equal to D1 means we are creating an object called D2 of class demo, and we are assigning or we are copying the values of D1 to D2 by invoking a copy constructor. Since we have a user defined constructor, this user defined copy constructor will be invoked. So in this copy constructor, this D1, this D becomes D1. Right. So when you create an object for D2, it will have 3 different variables. Right. Here, A is equal to D dot A. It becomes D1 dot A. Therefore, the A that belongs to D2 is having a value of D1 dot A. Therefore, A becomes 4. Now, B is equal to D1 dot B. Therefore, the B that belongs to D2 will be assigned a value of D1 dot B, which is nothing but 5. After that, you can observe this statement. This is very important. You are creating a pointer variable P for D2. Therefore, you are creating a new location here. Assume that this location is some 500 and the new location is 600. Why? Because you are using this P is equal to new int. Right, and then you are assigning the value of this d1 dot p, which is nothing but 7 to this. Right, so p is pointing to another location, this one, and this p is having a different location. Right. Now d2 dot show data. Now I can print the values of this a, b, and star p, which prints the value of 4, 5, and 7 respectively. Right, here the point we have to understand is whenever you invoke or whenever you write a user defined copy constructor, this is necessary whenever you have a pointer variable, and this is necessary whenever you are allocating the memory for the pointers using dynamic memory allocation. Right, so this statement is very much required when you define a copy constructor. Allocation of memory for the pointers using the dynamic memory allocation statement is very much needed. That is the reason why we call it as a deep copy. So you are going to create a separate memory location for the pointers. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes.
Right. Even though you modify the value of P that belongs to D1, it does not affect the value of P that belongs to D2. Right. So this is how we are going to illustrate the deep copy. Right. By looking at the output, you cannot observe that there is a deep copy that happened in the program. But by looking at this statement is very important. You can observe that there exist different memory locations for the pointers of different objects. So whenever we have different memory locations for pointers of different objects, that comes under the concept of deep copy. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What is the next class you are having?
Constitution of India, sir.
Any class is going on for that one? Any class teacher is assigned for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay then. We will continue with the same copy constructor and the characteristics of constructors and the destructors concept in the next class. So this is the end of today's session. Thank you one and all. So we will meet again in the next class with the concepts of the copy constructor, characteristics of constructors and the destructors. Right. Thank you. You can leave.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.